Welcome to the Loyal Opposition Podcast, episode number 13. I'm Berney Flowers, one of Uncle Sam's wayward children. I believe that our country's best days are still in front of us, but those best days, if they are to come, we need to change the direction of the country right now before it's too late. I intend to talk about important issues every week in hopes of helping to improve our country and our way of life. This week, our guest is author Terry Hasdorf. Now, let's get started. Author Terry Hasdorf is a former congressional candidate and an executive level leader with over 20 years of experience working at the intersection of faith and politics. She began her career in 1991 in what is now called the White House Office of Public Engagements, working with Welcome to the Loyal Opposition Podcast, episode number 14. I'm Berney Flowers, one of Uncle Sam's wayward children. I believe that our country's best days are still in front of us, but if those best days are still to come, we need to change the direction of the country right now before it's too late. I intend to talk about important topics every week in hopes of helping to improve our country and our way of life. This week, our guest is activist Chris Anderson. Let's get started. Chris Anderson is a Baltimore native, a U.S. Coast Guard veteran, and a lifelong community advocate who seeks to become the next city council member for Baltimore City, District 7. Chris is a natural leader who regularly attends New Shiloh Baptist Church in West Baltimore, and he's also my friend. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Colonel Flowers. How you doing, sir? Glad, thank you for having me on, Colonel Flowers.
I wish you would stop calling me Colonel Flowers. You are so funny. I got a couple of questions for you.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Sir. Let's get right on in it.
Let's do this.
All right.
Why can't inner city Baltimoreans have a party without bringing guns and violence to the party?
Well, thank you for asking that question. I know everybody's worried about what happened down here in Baltimore. We had a mass shooting, and 30 people, 2 dead, and 28 others shot and injured. That's the biggest shooting I've ever been involved in Baltimore. I mean, it's getting bad. I mean, I'm here running for office because of stuff like that. When you say, why can't we do it? We can do it. We can do it. Now, I went to the 4th of July. I went to a 4th of July party with one of my friends in the county, and we had such a good time and such a peaceful time. Eugene Boycott, if you know he is.
I know Eugene. Everybody knows Eugene.
Yeah, Eugene Boycott and Dr. Ray Serrano was there. So we had a nice little get together, fireworks going off, and didn't have to worry about gunfire, didn't have to worry about a fight, didn't have to worry about, no one stepping on no one's shoes and nothing like that. And I was thinking to myself while I was out there, because I'm a man of God too, I'm sitting there, we were on a waterfront property, and I'm looking in the sky and I'm thinking to myself, God, the same question you just asked. I said, why can't we do this in Baltimore? Why can't we have a party without making the 6 o'clock news come on at 5? And I don't understand, And God said, you can do that. You can do that. The people down there, this is one of the reasons I'm running for office and have ran for office. The people down there are suffering, and then the people are angry. And when the people get together, especially in a large crowd, that anger turns to frustration, and sometimes reflect on the people that are around. Most people call it self-hate. I think it is, but I wouldn't call it self-hate. I would call it self-anger, self-frustration of the situation that your city is in. There's high crime, there's an opioid crisis. When you walk outside and see the environment all the time, every day, I've been in it, so I know. It's depressing. And after a while, you get to a boiling point, you want to explode. When you got squeegee kids shooting people in broad daylight. When you have opioid crisis that's so bad that someone told me the other day on Penn North, a man got while he nodded out, his clothes and everything got stripped off of him. When he came to, all he had on was his underwear and his socks.
Good Lord.
So, yes, situations like this in Baltimore become depressing for the surrounding community. And when the community gathers and get together and start talking about these things, especially with politicians with no solutions, they tend to act out. And in acting out, we have inner city moments, I like to call them. David Chappelle calls them something else. We have inner city moments.
Inner city moments.
Yeah, and sometimes, right, and sometimes these inner city moments, they explode, everywhere. That's why we can't have a party, but I would say we can have a party if we get the right people in office, the right politicians that care, the right leaders that care for the people, will end homelessness, will end the opioid crisis, and end the crime crisis in Baltimore City. Only then, when you see a people in a stable environment, only then you might see a change. The Bible says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, then he will heal their land. So it would take the right leader. It would take the right environment for people to not just go off in a crowd and start shooting 30 people at a time.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Got another question for you, Chris. You ready?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Well, you stopped that sir stuff. That's a long time ago. I know
Yeah,
you're doing it just because, but that's okay. We're friends.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the military. You were in the military, so I respect the rank. I respect the service. To put it that way.
Man, we're that was 20 years ago for us.
That was a long time ago. I know for both of us.
Time ago.
I got
Anyway,
you. Yeah.
My next question for you: do you favor deploying the National Guard to stem the violence in Baltimore?
Well, that's a loaded question. First of all, I would just to give you the short answer, yes. To give you the long answer, no and yes. And I'm going to tell you why. I had a conversation here in Baltimore with the police department. With the consent decree, the way it is, we got a lot of cops that are standing down. We got a lot of cops that are just sitting by and saying, our hands are tied. We can't do this and we can't do that. Well, if your hands are tied, you can't do this and do that, then the military should come in. So I agree with the military coming in. But at the same time, if the military touches ground in Baltimore, which is actually, Governor Moore took 3 days to come out and survey the situation. That's something the governor should be on top of, and that's really a question for him. And I'm sorry, he's not living up to the hype that when we was running for the election. As you know, I supported someone else, but I think the military should already be on the ground in Baltimore. I think a response should have already happened. And we have not seen no responses from the mayor. We have not seen no response from the police commissioner, and we have not seen any response from the governor. So yeah, I'm in favor of somebody's got to take charge. So it might as well be the military. But the conversation I was having with a friend of mine and a police officer I'm telling you about, I would say we need to, self-police ourselves. Back in the day, we had small militias. Everybody complained about the Proud Boys. They complain about this and they complain about that. But these militias, they serve a purpose. And I think the communities like the guardian angels, we have a relationship with the guardian angels. The guardian angels, somebody like that needs to step in. So yes, someone needs to step in. Someone needs to take leadership. If the government is not going to do it, then someone else has to do it. So yes, I'm all in favor of the military touching down in Baltimore City, but that's going to have some consequences that we might not be able to in Baltimore. We might fear. Let's put it that way. But yes, it does need to happen.
Understood. Next question. What is the root cause of Baltimore's violence problem?
Oh, this is a great question. A good friend of mine and yours has been working on this. A lawyer, Eurypses Morgan. Eurypses has been on a touchdown on the ground in Baltimore. Has been trying to solve this problem all the way up until this shooting. I think she has the right solution. I've been to some of her meetings and I've heard her speak, and she says unity. Yeah, what I just said earlier about having a party and people being frustrated. When at these parties, people talk, just like just like me and you are talking, they talk too, and then they get frustrated with the answers. Well, blah blah blah. Ripsey said yes, we need unity, and we need unity, strong unity amongst the people, and we need the right leaders to advocate for that unity. Now, also, the root cause of it, one of my Republican friends, Ed Burlett, has been talking to me a lot about the root cause of the problem in Baltimore City. And he says, Chris, it's education. He said, if you want to look for systemic problems in the system, it's the democratic liberal education that you have in your city. And I thought about it. Giovanni Patterson is suing the Baltimore City school system. I thought about it. I was having these same problems when I was coming up.
Yes.
And it really stemmed from, if you look at it, it's juveniles. I mean, look at the squeegee kids. They're really squeegee juveniles. Look at the party. They are juveniles. These people have a school problem. And when I was coming up, I had the same problem as well, coming from school and thinking, maybe I get involved in this, maybe I get involved in that. Everything but books, everything but education, everything but geometry, everything but algebra and stuff like that. If we had better schooling, and we have been advocating for that, if we had better schooling and we start in the school system, I think future generations won't have this problem. I think a lot of our leaders are really failing us in that area. Everybody should be looking at this school system. Right now, 23 schools falling short of the mark. 23 in Baltimore City, 23 schools. What do you think is going to happen to all those students? We're gonna have squeegee. They call it a squeegee entrepreneur. The squeegee business is going to be hiring everybody too. You know, everybody's going to want the squeegee job. The squeegee job is going to be the top job out there because they won't be able to work anywhere else.
Yeah.
And then there's a drug market, and then there's an opioid crisis. All this bad education is going to fuel that problem. You can't tell me these people in office don't know that. And we offer school choice. They know, they had to know it. We're offering school choice as a different platform. School choice, being able to pick your school and get you a better education for yourself, is what's needed. And that's what I'm offering in my platform going forward. But we shouldn't have to do that. The public school system should be fixed. And let me say something else. A lot of people say, oh, it's the students, it's the students. They'll put it on the students of Baltimore in a hot second. Well, they're the problem. But we have a school here that showed that it can be done, the Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys. Now, the Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys made the news because they were in fear of being shut down by the school system. But if you look at their grades were off the chart. Their graduates was going on into college level education, and they were doing that in high school. And they had I think it was a 90% graduation rate. Baltimore school system, the whole Baltimore City, very impressive. And the whole Baltimore City school system didn't even have a record like that. And you can't tell me it's the students then or the constituents in the neighborhood or the voters. It's not them. It's the leadership that we have that's failing us. And the school system needs to be revamped. It needs to be overhauled. And some people need to be gotten rid of, starting with Dr. Santalese, who's the CEO of the school system. She needs to be fired from her job. And we need to put new leadership in there and start educating our children in the proper way to come up in the right way. And that way, that will stop that is a root problem. That's how we're going to stop it.
Did I hear somewhere that she makes more than the president of the United States?
I think you probably heard that somewhere. I don't know what the president's make, but she's up there. I think she's like $200,000, $250,000 or something a year just to fail our students. Just to fail our students. That's not right. If me and you had on our jobs and we had a bad record like that, we'd be fired. She should be fired and she should be replaced. I think that money should be earned. I think the voters should have a say in that. That money should be earned. And if you're failing our students, you got to go. You got to go.
I agree with you totally. So I have another question for you. Right. Actually, it's less of a question. I want to hear you talk.
All right.
The floor is yours. What would you like to say to the people?
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was waiting for a bonus question. I was like, he got a bonus question for me because I can handle a bonus question.
No, you do your thing. What's on your mind?
What's on my mind is since the situation in Baltimore and this shooting, I think we really have to get back to the basics. And when I say the basics, I mean the biblical basics. I think our churches are under siege right now with all that's going on with this culture war. And as usual, they're trying to stay out of it or stay neutral. You can't stay silent at this time. You can't stay silent at this time. This is warfare, and it's spiritual warfare. And one of the things that stopped the riots when Freddie Gray got shot, I was in the riots at the time, was the clergy march. We had a clergy march. We did everything to stop that riot. But when the church came out and marched down the street, the riot ended that night. And all the church did was come out its doors and march down the street. We had a good commissioner, police officer that led the way, Colonel Russell. I forgot his first name, but Colonel Russell came out and said, "Listen, can we get the church out here?" And that's something when the police is asking for God's help. That's something when the police, that's their job to walk down there and stop that riot. They're asking God, "Can you come out and help it?" And when the church came out, that riot stopped. I don't think we've learned from that. I don't think we learned from that as a city, and I don't think we learned from that as a people, and I don't think we learned from that as a nation. We need God back into everything. And now all you see is everybody. Listen, I mean, think about it. When they took prayer out of school, all this popped off. And I'm going way back to prayer being taken out of schools. And then the churches closed during COVID, and they haven't recovered from that yet. I've seen. I go to churches. They still got masks on. When did fear become a part of? When did fear replace faith? When did fear replace faith in the church? And was it there all along? We got to get back to faith. Is faith that little? The Bible does say faith of a mustard seed. Is that all we had? Was a mustard seed faith?
Apparently so.
Some faith should have grown by now. Some faith should have gotten to I know mine has, to a point where I'm brave enough to walk out there and say, I want to do something about this, because I see a lot of my fellow co-laborers afraid, knocked down in a war that they were gifted by God, prepared for, and knew better in a church to fight. And now we got most of them just cowering in the walls and not wanting to come out. We need to take from that lesson in Baltimore, when the clergy marched, walked down the street of Baltimore to stop a riot, and they were the only ones that could do it. We need to ask God to come back into everything. We need not to shun him for nothing. God will not be mocked. I think that's why a lot of this is going on, because we put him on the back burner and putting so many other things in the forefront. We putting LGBTQ rights in the forefront. We're putting open border in the forefront. We're putting chaos in our schools in the forefront, and then we labeling it, calling it love. It's like we saying, you know, a lot of people, God say he will turn people over to a reprobate mind. We don't need, listen, I'm praying. God, we don't need to go down that route.
No,
we don't need to
don't.
go down that. And we got a lot of people out here now with reprobated minds, and they're saying, okay, we can do better than God. Well, God said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, go ahead, take the wheel. And man, it don't look like we're doing too. It look like we need to turn back.
So well.
It's not working. It's not looking good for us. It's not looking good for us.
Not at all.
So I think we need to turn back to God. I think we need to respect God at this point. I think God has actually proven himself to us. I mean, think about what I just said. This all started when we took prayer out of school. And now, all these years later, we're taking him out of this, and taking the commandments off the wall. And we're saying, oh, we know better than God. And God is, you don't think, go ahead, take it. Take the wheel. I'll give you guys that. You can go ahead and take the wheel. I'm gonna go over here and vacation for a while and chill. And you guys tell me how it's going when you're taking it. And not enough people are saying, God, please come back. These fools didn't know what they was doing. I mean, and I don't think we should march down this road anymore. Me and you talked about this, and I think you're right. Some of this got to happen, and it may get worse before we see the light.
Yeah.
But I pray to God more people start waking up and saying, God, we're never going to do this again. We're never going to take you out of anything or take you for granted. And I know my faith has really, really grown, information-wise, meditation-wise, talking to God-wise. And I think that is if you said your last question was, what's the root cause? I think that's the root cause of everything on the planet, taking God out of everything. And we need to get back to basics. That's all. That's my last word.
Chris, you are entertaining, and you are clearly a man of the people. How can people reach you if they need to get a hold of you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, facebook.com/Chris Anderson 2020. And I'm on Twitter at CAnderson2020. My email address is 2020chrisanderson@gmail.com. All that 2020 is when I first ran for office, and I said I'm gonna just keep that momentum of 2020 vision of God going all the way into my future. And so I'm not taking God out of anything. I'm keeping him in everything I do. And so far it's been working. It's not looking good for everybody else, but it's working great for me.
Amen to that. Well, Chris, that's about all I have. I tell you, I've enjoyed talking to you, and I look forward to having this conversation again really soon.
All right. And thank you. And I'm looking forward. Thank you for having me on. And I'm looking forward to coming on again and talk to you again, Colonel Flowers. I know you don't like that, Colonel Flowers.
That was a long time ago, brother. It was a long time ago, Coastie.
All right.
Take care now. I'll see you.
All right. God bless.
God bless. Well, that's about it for now. This has been the Loyal Opposition Podcast, produced in association with Liberty Arise Media and other podcasters. I ask that you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast and to this channel. Be sure to get your copy of my new book, Black Values Matter, available on Amazon or as an ebook on Audible and on Apple Books. And remember, it's okay to disagree, but if we want our country to prosper, we must insist on unity, transparency, and civility from ourselves and our fellow citizens. Thanks for listening to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. See you next week.